All right, so today we're going to be doing solving inequalities. So an inequality looks like a regular equation, but instead of there being an equal sign, there's going to be a less than or greater than sign, or less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. And these are going to be where the equal sign would be. And so you're going to solve it the same way, but the only difference is if you're dividing by a negative number, this symbol is going to flip. Only if you divide both sides by a negative number. If you divide by a positive number, then it stays how it is. So let's look at some of these examples. So here's my symbol. So I'm going to treat that just like the equal sign and draw all the way down. So I'm still trying to like combine things together, put x's on one side, numbers on the other side. So in this equation, the first thing I should be doing is -3 plus -2, combining my like terms. That's going to be -5 when I add them together. I drop down the 2x. My symbol stays because I did not divide. Okay. Next step, I got to move all my x's to one side. Oh, my x's are already alone. And I got to move my regular numbers to the other side. So when I move something to the other side, I do the opposite sign. So I'm going to +5. This cancels. 2x drops down. I did not divide in this step, so the symbol stays. 7 plus 5 is 12. Last step, I divide by 2. 2 cancels out. I get x. 12 divided by 2, we type that in decimals, we get 6. I did divide, so I have to check, should I flip the symbol or should I keep it the same? Well, was this number that I divided by, is this number, is that negative? No, that's a +2. So then this is going to stay the symbol it was, and final answer looks like this. So you are going to have to type this in the formative, and I put instructions for how you type this symbol at the beginning of the formative, so make sure you read that part. Let's look at the next question. Okay, same thing. Here's my symbol. Draw the line. So I need to get my x's on the same side. So I'm going to move my x's to the left side because when I write my answer, we always want the x to be on the left side. So here I'm moving 3x. I got to do the opposite, so I'm going to subtract 3x, subtract 3x. Okay, this cancels out. 2 drops down. -4 drops down. X minus 3x, we would type that in decimals and we would get -2x. I did not divide in this step, so the symbol stays. Next step, oh, I got to move my numbers to the other side. So I'm moving -4. How do I move it? I got to add. I have to do the opposite of what it says. -4 cancels out. I drop down my -2x. 2 plus 4, we type that in decimals, we get 6. I did not divide in this step, so my symbol stays. Last step, oh, I got to divide. What am I dividing by? -2. So that cancels out. I get x. I type 6 divided by -2 in decimals, I get -3. I did divide in this step, so I need to check when I divided. Did I divide by a negative number? Yes. So that means I need to flip my symbol. So instead of it opening up to that right side over there, it's going to flip and open the other way. And this is my final answer. We're seeing how this flipped because I divided by a negative. Okay? So this was my final answer. So it is important. A big mistake people make, oh, they're not, that you lose your negative signs as you work down the question. Make sure if you get a negative number that you bring it down anywhere it goes. Okay, let's look at the next question. So here's my little symbol. I draw the line down that symbol. I need to get numbers together and x's together. So I only have one x, so I need to get this number to the other side. So I have to do the opposite. So I'm going to plus 10. Plus 10. Okay. 10 cancels out. What's left over here? Don't lose that negative sign. That's still there. -x. -9 plus 10. You would type that in decimals. You would get a 1. In this step, did I divide? No, so my symbol is going to stay. I don't even have to think about flipping it unless I'm dividing. All right, last step. I'm not done because I want just x. I have negative x right now. We know when that's a negative, that really means it's a -1. So when I divide, what do I divide by? -1. -1. That cancels out. I'm left with x. 1 divided by -1 is -1. We would type that in decimals. I did divide, so when I divided, did I divide by a negative number? Yes. So since it's negative, I flip. So I'm flipping this, so now this, instead of opening to the left, is going to open to the right side. And this is my final answer. Okay, it doesn't matter if your number that you get at the end is negative. I'm talking about, is this number that you divided by, is that negative? If that's negative, then you flip it. All right, last one. Here's my symbol. Draw the line. So in this one, I have parentheses. I know anytime there's parentheses, I got to do that first. So I am going to multiply this number, going to multiply to the inside, times a negative. So -3 times x, we know that's -3 times 1, and we get -3x. We would be typing this in Desmos to make sure we're correct. And then I'm typing -3 times +2, we get -6. Did anything happen over here? No. Drop it down. Okay, now I did multiply by a negative. So you might be thinking, oh, maybe I should flip. But I did not multiply both sides of this inequality by a negative. I only multiplied stuff on the right side by a negative. So if that is what you're doing, like, oh, I'm getting rid of parentheses and I'm multiplying, that does not count towards should I flip or not flip. Okay, so this is going to stay the same. So next step, I got x's on both sides, so I need to get them on the same side. So I'm going to move 3x to the other side. How do I do that? Right now it's negative, so I plus 3x. Plus 3x. 3x cancels. I'm left with -6 over here. I got a +14 here. -x plus 3x. We would type that in decimals and get 2x. Did I divide in this step? No. So leave my symbol alone. Next step, I got to move 14 to the right side. So opposite, subtract 14. This cancels. I got 2x. -6 minus 14, you would type into decimals, you get -20. In this step, did I divide? No. So my symbol stays how it was. Last step, I need to get rid of that 2. How do I do that? Oh, dividing. Dividing. And I get x. -20 divided by +2 is -10. I did just divide, so I need to decide, well, when I divided, was this number positive or negative? Oh, it was positive. So I'm not flipping because that's a positive number right there. So I'm going to leave this symbol exactly as it was. Final answer. Like, yes, oh, the number I got at the end was negative, but this number that I'm dividing by was positive, so I'm not flipping. Okay? If you need to re-watch any parts, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, you can start the practice.